Master horse racing with daily racing forms Formulator, now free for DRF Bets members. Sign up to get the best bonus in racing with a $250 deposit match, plus a $10 free bet and free Formulator past performances. Go to drf.com/bet to play like a pro today.
Hi everyone, David Aragona and Craig Milkowski are taking a look at one of the stakes events on the Preakness undercard Saturday. It is race 9 at Pimlico, the Skipat Stakes, going 6 furlongs for the fillies and mares. Got a field of 10 signed on, and no clear-cut favorite in this race, Craig, but the number 2, Begin, is shown as the 3-1 morning line favorite. I will say, it remains to be seen where she's going to run this weekend, because she is cross-entered in an allowance race, an N1X allowance race on Saturday at Belmont, where I think she's going to be the substantial favorite if she runs there. So we'll see what the connections decide to do, but she's definitely a major player if she participates in this stakes at Pimlico.
Yeah, she is. It'll be interesting to see where she shows up. We're going to talk about the pace of the race here in a minute, but she would be one of the beneficiaries. So I'm kind of hoping she does run here.
Yeah, as Craig mentioned, there is quite a bit of speed in this race, and as we check out the Timeform US pace projector for this Skipat, there are a number of runners that want to be forwardly placed, and this isn't one of those fast-paced situations where some of these could go forward. There are a few horses in this race that are need-the-lead types that really do need to be in front or vying for the lead to have their best chance.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As you look through the preview page on Timeform US, which we don't show, I think there's 2 horses on there listed as leader, which is basically telling you they need to lead, and a few more listed as speeds, horses who do their best running on the lead. And it's not like these aren't fast horses either. As you look through the PPs as we go through this, you're going to see a lot of red fractions indicating they've been involved in fast-paced races.
Let's also check out the finish projector for this race. And Craig, this is the visual representation of the Timeform US power picks that people might be familiar with from the classic version of Timeform US, where the algorithm is making selections based on the speed figures, the pace projection. So no surprise here to see the algorithm favoring the number 2 Begin, and especially the number 3, I'm the Boss of Me. They do come in with the fastest recent speed figures.
They do. It's one where you want to see where the fastest speed figures are going to be shown on front. As we talked about it, though, the pace projector may have a say on that. And this is a good case where I think these two things work pretty well together.
Let's go through some of the contenders, and we'll first take a look at some of the horses that are exiting the Prima Neta Stakes from Laurel, another race in this division from late April. And we'll check out the replay of Princess Kokachin, Oksana, and Street Loot, who are all coming out of this race. They were the top 3 finishers. Princess Kokachin is the one on the lead, and she is a real speedball, needs the lead to be most successful. Oksana sort of got dropped by the top 2 around the far turn. Looked like she was going to get nothing, but you could see that the eventual winner starts to tire and come back to the field in the late stages, and Oksana just is able to get back into the picture right here, nearly getting up on the wire. Not really her typical style to come from off the pace like that, but I think it's the fact that the horse we're looking at here, Princess Kokachin, just really did get kind of tired at the very end there, and that does give me some cause for pause here, Craig, in a race where there's so much other speed.
Yeah, she is one of those 2 I mentioned during the pace projector segment. It is a leader. Basically, she has to have the lead to win. And even then, she doesn't win all that often. She was able to win last time out, but this is a tougher spot, I think. So it's going to be tough. I think it was a good thing that we saw. We'll talk more about Oksana in a minute, but Princess Kokachin was able to hold her off, but not sure she's going to be able to hold them all off here.
And we'll take a look at the PPs of Oksana up next. So you could kind of see that weird running line where she was vying for the lead early, kind of got dropped in the middle half of the race when Princess Kokachin showed so much speed to spurt away from her. But they did come back in the late stages, and Oksana was finishing nicely. And at least she's shown the ability to rate off another rival and finish. But she's still a horse that, in general, prefers to be placed close to the pace.
Right. That's why I wanted to point her out. It's a little different. That's why she has that speed running style, because it's not like she completely packs it in when things don't go her way. We saw that last time, and you can see it in some of her other races where she still has good finishes. But from that inside draw, unless she's able to completely change tactics, it feels like a really tough task here.
And then number 4 is Street Loot, the one who was third in that Prima Neta. I thought she worked out the best trip of all because she was sitting back in third early, got into contention, and seemingly had the race fall into her lap, but she just couldn't quite take advantage of it. And she's a horse who did a lot of winning early in her career. The past couple of seasons have been more of a struggle, and just feels like this race might be a little beyond her current capabilities.
Yeah, she's the kind of horse I tried to talk myself into, and I couldn't quite get there, as we'll see later in the video. And it's because even though she gives the illusion that maybe she's an off-the-pace runner, she really isn't. She's very rarely gaining ground in the stretch. Even when she sits off the pace, she's losing ground that last furlong. Last race was a bit of an exception, but I think that had more to do with the leader tiring than it did anything else.
Let's take a look at some of those shorter prices on the morning line. The number 2 is Beguine. Let's take a look at her last race when she was second in the Garland of Roses at Aqueduct. And she ran very well this day because she made a move to take over at the top of the stretch. And this was an honest pace, and it really did set things up for the deep, deep closer, Betsy Blue, who is going to finish very strongly down the center of the racetrack. But watching this, Craig, I didn't feel like Beguine was necessarily stopping at the end. I thought the winner just got a great pace setup. And if Beguine can run back to either of her last 2 races, she's going to be tough for this field to handle.
She is, as we mentioned earlier. Maybe she goes in this spot, maybe not. It seems like she's a horse who can come from off the pace. She can run close to it, but she is one who has closed from behind before, including around 2 turns. So I think this race would set up nicely for her. Betsy Blue, who beat her last time, would clearly be the favorite in here, in my opinion. So for me, she's clearly the horse to beat.
Yeah, I think the knock against her is that she's just got 1 career victory, and she's settled for second a few times, not always the strongest finisher at the very end of her races, and maybe that's why the connections have cross-entered her in an N1X allowance race, just trying to get that second career victory. The number 3 is I'm the Boss of Me. Let's take a look at her last race at Oaklawn Park when she wired a field going the same 6 furlong distance, and this is a very fast mare. She's been involved in some fast paces recently, got a better situation this last time that we saw her, albeit against a weaker field, and got the job done.
Yeah, she's obviously a very fast horse. We have her as a speed horse, but most of her success has come wire to wire, and I think that could be a problem here. She boasts those gaudy speed figures. 2 back, we see she challenged one of the leaders of the division, Wicked Halo, in a very fast race. Monterey was in that race as well, who came back to win on Derby weekend. So that field was really good. She showed that the class relief helped her last time, though her speed figure regressed. I'm just not sure how she's going to be able to work out a winning trip given all the other speed.
Up next is the older half-sister to the Preakness favorite Mage. That is the number 6 Gunning, and she is a different kind of horse than Mage, as she's done her best work sprinting. This is her most recent race when she actually tried 2 turns for the first time and just seemed to lack the finish that she had showed in her races going shorter. So now Ken McPeak is going to make the decision to turn her back in distance, and she certainly encountered the right kind of pace setup, Craig.
Yeah, she certainly is. And she didn't encounter that last time. It was a slow pace race at Oaklawn. She was trying 2 turns, as you mentioned, but I thought she still ran pretty good. And I expect an improved effort here, getting back to her best distance and getting that really nice pace set up, which even if there were a scratch or 2, it's just hard to imagine that this race isn't going to be very fast on the front end.
The number 7 is Edie Mini Mo, and we'll take a look at her race 2 back when she narrowly lost at Laurel. Now, this was all the way back in October of 2022, and this horse did have some very good form in early 2021 and also 2022, but we haven't seen her in a little while, so she's coming back off the layoff here. Her most recent performance at Gulfstream was pretty lackluster, so definitely has some things to prove here.
She does. She's another one of those speedballs as well. We can see her races 2 and 3 back, had red fractions, very fast time form US pace figures. The 140 is just crazy, but she just doesn't seem to have any finish. I don't blame anyone if they want to put a line through that last race facing Frank's Rocket, who has just turned into a monster over the last 6 months or so, but it's just another one is going to be battling on the front end. Hasn't really shown she's able to win from off the pace, and I don't think she's as fast as a couple of the others in here.
Craig, let's also quickly run through some of the bigger prices that are drawn towards the outside. The number 8 is Chitara. She's a horse that doesn't figure to have the early speed to be up close to the pace, but I wouldn't necessarily call her a closer, because if you watch her races or look at her running lines, she's not one that's really often passing horses at the end. So I just wonder if this race might get away from her.
Yeah, it's hard to see her working out a trip to win. She's one who does her best running on the front end, as you note, and she's just shown so far back in the pace projector because she's not as good as these.
The number 9 is Olivia Darling, and she got into good form when she initially was switched into the Jorge Delgado barn over the winter in Florida. But her last couple of races have kind of been trending in the wrong direction, and she's another one who wants to be forwardly placed, and I'm not sure she's as naturally fast as some others to her inside.
No, she's shown back in 4th or 5th. I guess they're very close between two of them. A horse who wants to be on the lead, doesn't really have the speed figures to match up, so her work's cut out for her.
And finally, Golden Effect, drawn towards the outside, has been in decent form recently, but she's been facing some weaker competition in those optional claiming and allowance races at Laurel Park. So this is a step up in class, and she might have a wide trip coming to her if she tries to chase outside.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan would be. She's also yet another one who's won her best races on the front end. She has shown an ability to close, but as you note, they were in pretty weak competition compared to the Skipat Stakes.
Well, Craig, let's throw up our picks, and I'm just going to go with that Timeform US Pace Projector. I think that horses like Beguine and I'm the Boss of Me are more naturally talented than my top pick Gunning, but I just think she's going to get the right kind of setup. I like the turn back for her, so I put her on top.
Yeah, Beguine, if she runs, I think she's the horse to beat. One thing I didn't mention, she is coming off a 5-month layoff, but when I looked up the trainer stats, they were fine. He actually does well off of a layoff, so I didn't view it as a negative. She may be a little short, though, so I have no problem with you going with Gunning. If the race holds together, there's a very good chance I'd play them both in an exacta.
It's the number 6 Gunning for me and the number 2 Beguine for Craig in the Skipat Stakes on Saturday at Pimlico. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.